I wanted to ask one specific question on your relationship with Mr. Ratan Tata.
There was a time when Mr. Tata was not Mr. Tata on day one, to what I mean, but he became Mr. Tata. It's all the inspiration for us saying, like, oh, maybe that's a journey that we can all get on, frankly.
Yeah, so I think the first question I wanted to ask you was, how did you all meet? That will be, I would love to know, maybe Kavitha, you can take it up.
I enter much later in the picture, so sure.
Yeah, maybe Ravi could.
So we started Upstox, which is the parent company of Upstox, called RKSB. And initially 2008, we were doing proprietary trading. So we were trading our own money algorithmically. And before that, I was in the US. And my younger brother, Ravi Kumar, had started trading business in the US as well. And at the end of that tenure, 2006, is when Shrini also joined, right? We'll take it back a little bit more.
Yep.
I grew up in the US for the most part. And went to university out there and ended up working at a brokerage company out there for a couple of years. I've always kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur my whole life. And I saved up a little bit of money. And then my brother and I, we started trading. We were into markets growing up. And in 2005, we started with about $20,000 in savings. We turned that to about $3 million over the course of 2.5, 3 years. Just trading our own capital, right? So we were working out of our parents' house. And
in 2008?
That's 2005 to 2008. That's from 2004 to 2007.
That's when the
markets. Sorry.
The recession was around that time, right?
Just starting up.
Yeah.
Right? So pretty much happened. So at the end of that, when the recession happened, we were basically forced to stop.
Okay.
And luckily, we didn't lose any of our money. So we were able to preserve all of our capital. And at that time, Shrini also joined the picture. And Shrini's background, he was a friend of my brother's. So he joined the business. And we ended up moving to basically India, unknowingly at that time, but basically came out here to see what was happening. Business family, and we realized that India had this tremendous opportunity. Right? And I think we were still kind of secluded from what was happening around the world at that time. The whole financial collapse hadn't impacted India as much. We came to India and brought our capital over, and we started getting licensed on the exchanges, the NSE, BSE, and we started doing very well. We started multiplying our capital, and mostly just trading our own money. We didn't really have any outside funds. We were doing what's called proprietary trading, which is taking your own capital and just kind of trading, right? And our trades are all done algorithmically, electronically. So we would scan markets, and we would place orders autonomously. And we started growing our business. Then 2012 is when we started a retail business.
Right? That's when we started our business in India.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. So around the same time. And this is all before, internet penetration, what it is today, where iPad was in the picture. So the first 2 years of growth were very, very, very slow for us. And then it started picking up, started 2016 onwards. I think Kavitha joined Upstox probably unofficially around 2013. 14. And then, so we're married. It's no, you know, but, and then in 2000, we officially came over 2015.
I don't know which step more, and I think we'll be talking business for so long.
Yeah. But basically, for the vast majority of the entire retail business growth, right, she's been there as well. So, the growth has been incredible. We've been through multiple stages, multiple challenges. We've grown the business. But I think especially the past 2 years have been just incredible.
And I still remember in 2007-8. So I was working with KPMG before I went to. So I was at KPMG London, so the Canary Wharf office. So I went for a meeting with Citigroup. then when I came back, I could see all these people with coat and boxes standing there. Didn't know what really happened. Went back up, and Labour Brothers actually asked people that time. So,
But it is being very humble about this. But
Yeah.
and now about the story is they're trading on different exchanges across the world.
yeah,
And in early 2008, they felt like the algorithms were not behaving the way they were expected to, that the spreads were increasing.
nice.
They actually took out their capital
Wow.
and they waited, which I think to not trade is so freedom. So they're actually ones people call the crash. They didn't use a single dollar in the crash.
The big shot of India. We used to do a movie on.
Seriously, I
So you did big shot.
You got lucky.
Yeah. So then you joined the business. I think you had a very interesting educational experience and so on. I mean, very much possible for you to stay back where you were rather than come back to India. But why did you decide to move back and
Well, back to the US.
yeah?
I think I was always very, very keen to work in India. I think it was always there at the back of my mind that I wanted to work on something which would fundamentally transform the lives of hundreds of millions of people. So it's a combination of a couple of places that I've been at. I'm a practitioner.
Yeah.
And then I joined McKinsey.
Yeah.
And McKinsey, from day one, would tell you got to think at scale. You can't solve a small problem or just solve it for 100 people. You have to solve it scale right. And that was a great experience for me, learning that, working in different companies. You know how it is, you do short stints at different companies. So, but you always work with top management on the largest problems, therefore, of India Inc. So that was a very good exposure to say, how do you think about problems at scale? And then I did something slightly unconventional. After McKinsey, I joined SKS Microfinance. So I ended up working in rural, really, really tiny villages with below poverty line customers for a year and a half. And that was incredible for me. That was a transformational experience in my life. Because I felt like back then, literally first time I'm seeing your kid parent, very small loan, 4,000, 5,000 bucks. And these families are very, very smart and very, very entrepreneurial, which is not something I expected to see. They're like doing stuff within the local ecosystem. So what's it buying like a bunch of boats? But in 6 months, goats multiply, right? And that family which didn't have 4,000 rupees is now sitting on 16,000, 20,000 rupees capital. I mean, kids are very close. Small things like that, what I saw firsthand. So I was fundamentally moved by the idea that finance can transform people's lives and finance can transform India. You know, we always talk about education being the way to transform the world. But what finance can do, it can do it in a shorter span of time. Like this is in the span of like months and years, right? So I saw. And so these ideas, that is the biggest problem. Most of them have a bank account. So I was working in mobile banking and trying to piece together tech and finance. And so, after that, I went off to the US to get an MBA degree in finance. I came back right after, actually. I graduated, I left and came back. I think I've always been a very, very Indian at heart. I worked in private equity investing for 6-7 years, understood investing, but then came back to this problem of saying, and we met Mr. Tata.
Yeah.
And his question was, I, as Mr. Tata, have access to the top wealth advisors in the world. Yeah. How do you make the average man in India have access to that? And so this suddenly brought all the pieces back together. Like scale, transforming the lives of hundreds of millions of people through the power of finance. And so that's all of it together is Upstox. And that's what we try to do. How do we get hundreds of millions of Indians to invest better? For example, we all know how to save, right, as a country. Very, very good at saving. Super frugal, right? 30% savings rate, best in the world. But none of us know how to invest well. And this cuts across levels of education, levels of wealth. It cuts across, a lot of our colleagues in coffee would tell you that they don't know how to invest well.
Absolutely, yeah.
People in finance would say that. Because even if you did know how to invest, the markets still are different from markets. So how do you keep track? And not think of people in different non-finance roles, IT, media, and so on. And then think of your tier 2, tier 3 person, right? Your blue collar people in India. They are the people who really, really need help on investing. For you and I, beating inflation is something that you didn't understand. when we do it, it's going to be a slightly better quality of life. But for a vast majority of Indians, beating that inflation, making it slightly more wealth, is what's going to get their kids to go to school, right? So that's the journey we're on, saying, how do you make sure that everybody is investing? So we started our journey 3 years ago with Start Karke Dekho. That was sort of our tagline, saying, all of India needs to invest. We made our product, the way to invest, very, very simple. Great UI. But if we keep that, one of the biggest challenges we face is not only the knowledge that you need to start investing, but also nobody knows where to invest. And now we are on this mission to say, invest right, invest now. And so a lot of the work we're doing right now is how do we educate, but not just educate, but get people to quickly, automatically, and in a very delightful way, invest in the right way. And hopefully, therefore, make the next generation better off.
I think I want to ask you this. We publish a list of what we do is essentially publish a lot of list, which covers various types of entrepreneurship, right? I've been wanting to ask you this question specifically about women wealth creation, or how does India as a country stand in your lens in terms of wealth creation by women? Because I was reading this book by book called The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. I don't know if you've read it. It's fantastic. In that she makes a very compelling statement. This is when a woman goes forward, right? It cuts across religion, caste, and all the other societal barriers. So that's like a significant growth there as a country, from a country perspective. So I really want to know from your perspective, where do women entrepreneurship in India stand, and how do you, how have you thought about it?
It's very interesting experience. When I was in those villages with 40 customers, microfinance only lends to women, and then loans are only given to the entrepreneurs. So these are women entrepreneurs in rural India that I was working with, way back in whatever 2007 or plus. And the energy and the entrepreneurship I saw there was unparalleled, was incredible. And I think there's a same story again, which is given the opportunity, these women were shine, but there are just a bunch of factors that sometimes hold some of them behind, some of us need wait. I personally find it disappointing that we still have to have this conversation, that this is not a situation where we're already like generating across the world. But the reality is that I believe that this starts many years prior, not at the point of entrepreneurship alone, but many, many years prior. Like when I was at IIT, I was the only girl in my class. There is nothing intrinsically difficult about the JEE for girls, because at the SSC level, girls are outshining the boys, right? The higher pass rates, better success rates. But somewhere between there and college, they are told to be less, or not even as much support, right? And of course, a bunch of societal factors. If we can just drive through that and give more support there, and I think other men can be Ravi and Shrini are doing their bit. But I think we need so much better because we don't have a lot to offer. Smart speed.
Yeah, and you joining Kavitha joining business, has it changed in terms of how in terms of women being given priority in the business? Because I've read somewhere that when there's more leadership of women on board of the companies, right, in terms of employability or high hiring and everything, there'll be equal preference, if not more, given to women. So have you seen that kind of shift happening in the company, or anything like that?
I think so. I still think that we could probably do more.
Yeah,
right? I think there's definitely room for even more improvement. But definitely, there's having a woman co-founder, one of the leading fintechs.
Yeah,
I think is inspiring, right? So it's cool, but I still think we could do more.
Okay. Next question is mainly, so Nikhil, Nitin are good friends. So I will ask them this question, and I want to ask you, all of you as well. One of the things about Indian stock market in general, what they say is, we always say X% of the population is into trading, but then it's like a cycle. So when the markets are good, it's good, then it comes down and so on. But if you do a comparable market like China and US and so on, the percentage of population where retail was actually trading is much higher compared to that of India. Do you see that India is really past that hockey stick curve in terms of more and more retail traders are coming in, and it's become finally a good place from retail investing standpoint. That's market.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I can.
Sugar good.
I'll start you, please, Chip.
Sure.
But I just feel like there's a few points, right? Like, back in 2007, I was at McKinsey. India had a 2% equity participation.
Yeah.
We'd done something, 2%.
Yeah.
In 2016, 2%.
Yeah.
Right? So just that. But India's primarily an amazing market in terms of two things. One is an market, also some of the initiatives in our fintech space. All of us are aware of it, but we witnessed this firsthand from 2016, just before 2016. If you remember, his opening Demat account was a 30-page document with 42 signatures. Right? And imagine at least the line of actuals that we get from people, house of 630, but zero people objects to your 3 upon to basically download your form and then print it, sign it, and clear it, right? And typically people did do that, by the way, and more testament to the interest of trading and investing in India. But typically, 50% forms get rejected, going up by signature again. Right?
Yeah.
There was a story in 2016. 2016, when Aadhaar came, industry got a massive flip. And because it fundamentally solved the problem of access, which is really, really what was plaguing the industry back then. We've grown 3x. As a country, for equity participation, which was flat for a decade prior, to have grown 3x in 5 years, that's fantastic.
And that's his percentage. Population also increasing, right? So absolute value is going.
So that's just phenomenal, right? But I also feel like in life, nothing is ever going to be a straight line. It's going to be like a stock price. Sometimes up, sometimes down. But hopefully the overall trend is, long-term straight up. So I believe that's how it might be. You might see a few ups and downs. The long-term trend is there to stay. There are different problems that will arise at different phases in this life cycle. So the first one was of access. So that's broadly getting solved, or getting solved, to be honest. Then there is a layer of awareness, which a lot of us are coming together and sort of helping solve. Then there's a layer of education, helping people do the right thing. And so it goes, right? So the different problems at each step that I personally feel confident and hopeful that we will, as an industry, continue to keep solving.
And what are the factors that would really, if you look at from your prediction, so to speak, or if you can answer, what are the factors that you see will impact more and more active retail participation? It's a GDP per capita, of course, one. But by 2030, let's say 2030, some news came yesterday they hit 4 trillion, but that. But I don't know where the source is.
But the jury's out of that one.
But again, for 2030, we expect to become a 7 trillion US economy, right? From our research standpoint, just to give you some numbers here, when we put out the India Rich List in 2012, the number of US dollar billionaires was 50. Now it's about 260 in India. It's grown about 5 times. The number of startup founders in the list in 2012 was 0 at that time, right? Now it's more than 100, right?
Was Infosys never a startup?
We didn't consider them a startup then. But then
at some point they were though.
Somebody, new age tech startup. That's what I meant. Even when the philanthropy as well, right? Number of people donated 100 crores and above. When we put out the list was 2. In 2014, we launched the first philanthropy list. Now it's 12. So all this is, we can clearly see a growth from economic development, philanthropy and wealth creation, all that, right? So by 2030, let's say if you were to have that kind of number, GDP 7 trillion, I believe Indian wealth creation is also going to increase, and that'll have a trickle down effect and so on. How do you see this market growing? Have you thought about it?
I think the other part way of answering, which she answered also, is the other way to look at it perhaps is India is blessed with a lot of very smart people. We have an incredible stock market ecosystem, right? With the NSE, BSE. The BSE is the oldest exchange in Asia. It's been around for 100 plus years. You have all these examples of incredible people of Indian descent going, the US, Europe, and other countries, and starting up world-class companies or becoming leaders of world-class companies. A lot of them oftentimes coming back, right? And what's incredible to see also is that a lot of the investing, equity investing we're seeing in India is all towards companies that are onshore, right? That are all within Indian soil. Like if you're sitting in Australia, for example, there's very few avenues for you to invest in Australia. You have to actually take your money and invest it outside of your own country.
Well, invest in mine.
Exactly. Right? If you want exposure beyond that, you have to go international. So what we're seeing happen in India is just a channeling of domestic savings towards India's own equity markets. And, you're seeing a lot of companies going public, right? I've gone public in these last 20 years. It's accelerating more and more and more. And it's an incredible story to see. It's happening in front of our eyes. Yeah. If you just this kind of take this forward, say next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever's happening in the US can happen here again.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally, that's what we're seeing happening. But whatever took something, maybe 50 years of growth in the US to probably happen in the next 20 years. Just more and more compressed, right?
Okay.
So the government is helping companies like us thrive. Not just the government, other private enterprise are helping companies like us, right, thrive in India, right? People are benefiting. GDP per capita is also growing. There's more and more people are saving. They're channeling savings towards things like equity markets. They invest in IPOs or even secondaries. That helps the companies grow and raise capital within the public markets. As companies grow, that builds back wealth into the hands of the private people. Becomes this incredible circle building wealth creation.
Yeah,
it's just an amazing story we're seeing happening.
Yeah,
this is what's happened in the US, right? The reason why US has 50% almost equity participation is because there have been brands like say Charles Schwab or Fidelity or Vanguard that have been there for 50, 60, 70 years that have helped tens of millions of families in the US save their money, right, towards in equity, right? And so as the US grew, all these families were able to save and grow their wealth as the US economy grew. So we see something similar happening in India. We're still probably in the earlier stages, but these next 20 years we think will be just incredible periods of growth.
And I don't think not only that we see it happen, but I think it should happen.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of GDP growth? It's a hard work of all of us in India.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's what the GDP growth is.
Yeah.
So why should our wealth grow in tandem with that GDP?
Actually, I believe our wealth has to grow to hit the GDP growth. That's
exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. So your underlying companies are growing.
Yeah.
In India, the beauty is it's not that the E multiple is growing, but it's the earnings of the companies that are growing. So that fundamental growth is beautiful. Right. This is fabulous. We're so lucky to live in this country with amazing GDP growth and amazing economic factors. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if we were to invest in our companies, then those companies that grow, our wealth grows with it.
Correct.
And the more we invest, this cycle is a virtuous cycle. So that's like strong. So we want to make sure that every Indian takes advantage of this.
Yeah.
We should be the people investing in our companies, not foreign institutional investors.
Totally agree.
So that is the story that we are doing.
Totally agree. I just invest in all these companies, wait for them to demerge and create value for.
And then you combine that with that. Indians generally like to save.
Yeah.
So you're not asking them to learn how to save. You're asking them.
That problem is already solved.
Right. It's like channel your savings, not these asset classes, but maybe put some of that in equity. Right. And that's creates this virtuous, wonderful cycle of growth.
Now, also, I want to add one point here. Again, compared with the philanthropy list that we put out. So in 10 years back, was it about 5 years back when, 2012, when Chinese GDP was about, I think 7-8 trillion, if I'm not wrong, at that point. If you look at the 100 biggest philanthropists in China, actually donated lower than the 100 biggest philanthropists in India. So India as a country is a very giving country as well. So when India grows, I also believe that the philanthropic efforts also grow around. I mean, that's quite exciting. Yeah. I want to ask you one question, Shrini. I think you've been, this is mainly to understand from people who go abroad, who could have had a great career outside, who've come and started business in India. What is one thing you like about your journey so far? And one thing that really you believe, okay, it could have been better uh, from somebody who was returning from the US to set up their business in India?
She probably gets many stories to tell.
Yeah, a lot of stories, but I think that um, as Ravi mentioned, we met, Ravi and I met around 2008, 2009, right when the whole global financial crisis happened. So for me, I was very clear that I've always wanted to start a tech company. I wasn't sure for the longest time whether it would be healthcare tech, biotech, or fintech. But because I worked in a couple of financial services firms before that, I sort of narrowed my focus and said, okay, it's going to be fintech. What ended up happening, of course, is that nobody would predict that, one by another, these banks would fall down like dominoes, and names like Bear Stearns and things like that, which have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, would suddenly just collapse overnight, right? So I think that was a very uh, tumultuous time, and that was my first job right after college, and you're immediately being told that half the company is being downsized and whatnot, right? But I think those are also the perfect opportunities for us to take advantage and see, okay, look, now the whole landscape is shifting. What value add can you bring to the world that's not already being seen, and why not do it now? Because everyone is so doom and gloom and depressed, and that's usually the time when you want to go out and take a risk, right? When people are not focused on risk taking. And that's how Ravi and I met, and we were looking at India, as you mentioned. We came for a social visit, and we saw that there's a lot of opportunity. And from my perspective, from my lens, I thought, okay, there's about 3 or 4 differences that I think makes this very exciting. One is that I felt that the market dynamics here are much more different than what it was in the US, right? You have a very diverse market. The tech adoption was very low. The consumer preferences, the stuff that people want, is all over the place, right? When you went to Delhi, what people wanted was very different than what you want if you're in Chennai, at that time. And then in the US, it's nice, but it's also a bit more boring, right? Because it's one language. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone has a smartphone. Everything's already been done from that perspective, right? And I think the market dynamics aspect excited me, saying coming to India will be something of a learning experience for me, myself, and maybe I could bring in some different perspective because I've not been exposed to it for so long, and I think it's a great two-way flow of ideas. The second thing was that there was also a lot of funding and VC investments happening in the US at that time. But in India, it was very nascent, right? So you're talking 2009, 2010, when maybe the startups that people heard about was Flipkart, right? And nobody else, right? So it was still a place where funding was wanting to come, getting more and more interested, but not fully there yet. But then on the other hand, you knew that when you came to India, you saw that the economy was growing. You saw there was a massive pool of talent in here. You saw that there was a lot of smart programmers, smart designers, smart product folks coming in there. So, it's a bit exciting to then have that just start stew and bubble up, and you get that feeling that, okay, I feel like there's space where you can actually sell a lot of good products because nobody has done that before. And it's not like you have to outsource the work to another country because we actually have the talent here. It's not maybe fully polished as what it was in the US, but we can see that it's shaping up, right? And maybe in another 10, 15, 20 years, you don't have to outsource some of the high products and high level things and then bring it here, right? So that's what we saw, and I think that's what excited me in terms of doing that. And of course, I think that the other thing that I think is massive is there's a sheer amount of population, right? Where else in the world can you say, I'm going to build something that can touch 1 billion lives, right? Definitely not in the US. So it was a combination of coming to a place where everything is diverse. You have to build very differently, and you have to solve for 1 billion people. It's not just a very small amount of people, right? And these are things that nobody has solved till date, right? And nobody can teach us. Your experience of working in US and Europe will take you so far. But some of these things you have to only learn by being here in India, right? You have to learn how you can serve 1 billion people and how you do build a great product and how you build it at the cheapest, lowest price possible in the world. It cannot be expensive. So these kind of challenges are actually good challenges that set you up to be a better thinker, better entrepreneur in the future.
And I think those are the things that when I came, at least not all of it I saw on day one, but I got the feeling that space has a lot of potential, right? And that's what drew us to India entrepreneurs.
Okay. I wanted to ask one specific question on your relationship with Mr. Ratan Tata. He came on board. Could you tell me more on how you did briefly touch on how you met him, but how was the whole experience and what did you learn from him? It's such an amazing opportunity to be in the same room with him,
Yeah,
So
we get to meet him frequently.
yeah, that's amazing. When I get the email from him itself, I'm very,
One of the meetings, and you're like, oh my God, it's just happening again. So.
Yeah, would love to hear.
Please start with the first one.
But first, maybe Mr. Tata, actually, it's Shrini and me that met Mr. Tata initially. And the pitch was very similar to what Kavitha mentioned, right? Which is, back then, Mr. Tata was making a lot of investments, but it was still hard to even get his time and convince him, right? But the pitch to him was very straightforward. It's like, we showed him a demo of the app at that time. And we told him, look, Mr. Tata, you obviously have access to incredible wealth managers who invest in the world wealth, right? That manage your very big account size. How do we leverage our latest technology to democratize that and make it accessible to the masses? And we gave him a demo, how we would like to do it, and he thought that was very relevant. That's how the relationship started.
Yeah, that was a team that he was really like
it resonated.
Close to his heart, resonated really strongly with him.
How long did it take for him to decide on invest on the spot?
Yeah. So within a day or two or something.
Of course, but then
By the
to
time
give a indication, right? I mean,
I still remember getting that email saying Mr. Tata wants to invest in your company. We'd already raised money before that. But we were just like, couldn't believe what just happened.
Yeah.
How was it to work with him? What did you learn? What did you learn from him?
I'll give an example.
Yeah.
In one of the meetings with him, he was talking. So one of the things that we love about him, obviously, when you mention the name Tata to any Indian, the instant reaction is of respect and trust. There are not many names in the world
Like hands down.
that can do that.
Yeah.
There are many names for achievement, so on and so forth. But this one name stands out with respect and trust, right? So we're talking about that, how, not only the startup, but how do we build a multi-decade to be, 100 years of stocks? What does that take to build that? And so we're talking about building trust. We're talking about, being ethical, doing the right thing with Mr. Tata. And I think what was amazing for us, only just a Sunday, right? He talked us through a process of saying there was a time when they didn't have all of this set up and they did it. And they also went through that journey. Even just knowing that, saying, oh my God, Mr. Tata was not Mr. Tata on day one, to what I mean. But he became Mr. Tata is already inspiration for us saying, like, oh, maybe that's a journey that we can all get on. So I was talking to him. Just eliminates, just being the same as him, frankly, eliminates your thinking. Right? That's how we feel.
And every conversation is a little bit
Every
different.
conversation,
Something you pick up in what he says. Oh my goodness. It's different thinking about.
Yeah.
And there are so many stories about how he has made sure to do the right thing by his customers. So, like, there's a story of a deal that his team stitched up and came back. And then it turned out that he agreed better terms. And this during second hands.
Yeah. No, it won't be kept around nothing. Yeah.
So this team has switched up the deal and come back and he said the deal and says, I agreed something different.
Yeah.
Go back and ask do this deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Amazing.
So for us, that has been a big, so for us, the test at Upstox is not how at McKinsey used to say, are you comfortable with becoming headlines tomorrow? Is what you should talk about or write about. For us, are you comfortable meeting Mr. Tata, seeing in the eye and saying, this is what you do, right? And that's brilliant because our test is set for whatever we do, we have to do right by our customer. Right? Our customers in average Indian looking to build his wealth and therefore build up his family's future. Right? How do we make sure that every single thing we do will be in the long-term best interest of the customer first? And we firmly believe that even if in the immediate term it feels like the businesses suffered, in the long term, this is absolute win. So that's something that is a fundamental pillar for our business. Like, how do you make sure every single thing we do is just our first? Some of that I am reading it.
Okay, next question is what are the kind of 3 mistakes that you guys did at the top 3 that comes to top of your mind, right? And if you categorize that into buckets, what kind of, when you started off the journey, I mean, as a young entrepreneur who's looking up to you and would love to learn from you, right? What are the kind of 3 things that one should cardinally avoid? No one should just avoid doing when you start a business, or what should someone be careful about?
One
is enough. Right?
You can chip it.
Shree's actually very good at this too.
Yeah. That is the first thing that is fundamentally important. Actually, one is pick a sector that has macros in your favor.
Okay.
Right? That is just fundamentally important. You can fight many things. You can create an industry with the macros need to be in your favor.
Yeah.
Then the rest is up to you. Right?
Just to interrupt there, what would be the sector now where macros are?
Ours, for example.
Yours, of course, right? Yeah.
There's a many, right? Like,
Yeah.
for example, e-commerce is.
Yeah. Or EV, maybe. Yeah.
This is different, right?
Yeah.
I look at it today. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
An entrepreneur needs to be able to follow it. Right? That's the first fundamental thing. Make sure your TAM is massive.
Yeah. But that time, your TAM, I don't know how will you even, when you started.
We don't think of it as that time.
Okay. Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
E-commerce when Flipkart started.
Yeah. Correct. Got it.
People are buying retail.
Got it.
That market needs to be big.
Got it.
So that's fundamentally one of the things.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I think this way too much focus on having a great startup idea.
Yeah.
And that leads to too much science in lights of really young what it is. And for example, Upstox was broken over, I don't know what, 200 and something when we started, right?
Yeah.
Starting a broking business is not the most innovative thing you want. But it's all about execution.
Correct.
Right? Like, what are you doing differently? And you may not see the big picture on day one saying, I will be different this way. But if you keep chipping it and keep executing, you'll get better and better and better. What's this if you keep having this brilliant, beautiful idea that you're polishing? That's not going to see it out of the day.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
No, I was talking to, this entrepreneur called Divyang Turakia.
Yeah.
So I was talking to them, and I was just generally talking about my business and getting some advice and so on. And they were telling me, Anas, they don't make a business plan because you're never going to follow anything. Just go start doing things. Very much similar to
my first interview for Private. The question was, what's the correlation with the business model? And then
Yeah, and you were saying, see, we also need this. It's out there to serve a customer.
Yeah,
really understanding where the customer problem is and solving that need. No, it's probably everybody says this. Like,
following
that's the most important thing. Ultimately, it's very simple. There's going to be some problem you have to come across the customer seeing.
Yeah,
and you have to solve it in a in a novel way, right? And you can pick a very small niche initially, and then just focus on that, and then eventually just keep expanding. Other thing that I would also say is, it's also about your distribution, right? Your go-to-market strategy. You should make sure you think about that. It's a business ultimately, so to make sure you think about that on day one. Don't just think that you'll build this fantastic product, you'll open your doors, and in will come 1 million customers the next day. Nothing actually works like that, right? So thinking about how you'll sell it, how you'll distribute this is paramount.
So do you want to add to this?
Yeah, I think, look, a lot of things have become easier. A lot of things have become harder in the 10 years since we started the business. I think what has become easier is getting tech folks or product folks or design folks has been much easier today. Getting resources in terms of, you need to host a website, host an app, all that stuff has become much easier today. All of that is pay as you go, right? I would even venture to say even that fundraising has been slightly easier today than it was 10 years ago. maybe you crowdsource some of your investments, or it's your first investment, or you find other unconventional ways to do it, right? But what I think are still I think that's new today that may not be there before is that it's hyper competitive today in anything you do, right? Because the barrier of entry of creating that new idea and taking that to launch is so low, everybody wants to do it, right? And today it's cool to be an entrepreneur. 10 years ago, if when we told people, yeah, we are entering the share market business, first thing they'd ask is like, what do you know about the share market business? You're an engineer, he's an engineer. You guys know nothing about it. Why are you doing this? This is not, traditionally done by people in IT or tech or whatever, right? So now that whole stigma is gone. But because of that's gone and everything is super low cost, you'll see that, there's not one person trying to solve that problem. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 startups trying to solve the problem, right? And I think sometimes what happens is that probably when we're trying to build these businesses, because capital is available and we are looking to see how we can scale, sometimes people are more focused on building maybe not sustainable business, but more about how do I get high growth and high eyeballs and things like that, but maybe not actually translating into paying customers and revenue and things like that, right? And that ultimately comes back to the same problem that everyone had even 10 years ago or 20 years ago is how do you find that product market fit, right? How do you find that right product to get to a good sizable amount of customers that the market actually wants and needs at the moment, right? So that question will never be easier, right? If it was so easy, then everyone would be successful entrepreneurs. But I think, of course, now in terms of starting a business, right, there's a lot of changes in terms of what's working to your benefit and what's not working to your benefit. In terms of what space, there's so much more opportunities today, I think, than there were probably even 10, 15 years ago. With the kind of advancement in technology, with artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence coming in, it can potentially be something like, 20 years ago, everything that wasn't digital, we asked ourselves, okay, can I make a business by bringing this digital, right? So I think that in the next 10 years, you'll see things that saying, okay, if there's no artificial intelligence is there, can I infuse AI into this and make something different and stand out from others?
Okay. The last couple of questions after I leave you. So since 2012, when you started the business, at that time the funding situation, there's not too many investments. You had one unicorn, if I'm not wrong, around that time. Then the number of super valuable startup being created also increased, right? It's more about introspection sort of thing. So if you were to do it all over again, would you have changed how you would have started the business, or would you have continued the same bunch of things that you did since 2012?
It's live and learn every day.
Yeah.
Because always in hindsight, you can go back and change a few things.
Yeah.
But I feel like fundamentally, do we feel like every single day at that point in time, did we do our best?
Yeah.
I think so. Or we didn't know any different, right? Can't change that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you would go back in time and change much.
Yeah.
Are we living and learning every day?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. At least I hope so. So yeah, that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably agree. I don't think we would have changed.
Okay.
We're also blessed with very good investors in our cap tables.
Yeah.
It's just been incredible, I think, right? And you can't really predict, what's going to happen. Like you say, you can make a business plan.
You can't write a business like how to become a unicorn, for example. Things unfold. A lot of it is luck, for example.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, like when we first started Upstox, right, our RTS team, retail side of this back in 2012, first years were very painful because the internet is not what it was today.
That's what
opening an account, like Kavitha was saying, was like a 30-page document you had to print, and no one has printers, right? You had to print, you had to sign, you had to courier to our office. Oftentimes, some signature would be mismatched, so we had to send it back to the customer. Very painful, right? And I remember talking to Shrini about dude, why are we doing this in India? Shouldn't we been in the US? Big California, starting something there. Look, a friend that I went to college with is now, doing this. I'm stuck with all these paper forms. What's going on, man? You know, but everything changed overnight, right? Almost overnight.
What made you continue there? You know? I mean, this is some of the questions that come to me as an entrepreneur to every.
I think it's I don't know, man. It's persistence. Yeah.
It's the same logic as the stock market, right?
Yeah.
The stock price may fluctuate.
Yeah.
Do you have the view on the fundamentals?
Okay.
And if your view on the fundamentals is solid, you're not bothered
Yeah.
by the temporary fluctuation.
Yeah.
So
And that's that. You've got to take a long view.
Good.
like India had this even back then, right? All these incredible publicly traded companies, right? And there was history of investing in stock markets. It's a very young population. So it's just this belief that things are changing and hopefully accelerate towards change. You know, I think, and we've always stuck to our digital only roots. You know, like we could have probably maybe gone in the offline route, you know, and open up a bunch of like offline offices and all that stuff. We never did all that. You know, I think it probably helped us. You know?
Yeah.
In hindsight, it probably helped us. So things change, right? And you just need to believe deep inside you that things change for the better over time. Because everybody wants the country to do well, right? For the most part, the people want the country to do well. So you have to keep adapting as things.
I think the one fundamental question which is non-negotiable is, have you stuck to your values throughout?
Correct. Yeah.
If that answer is yes, then you have to sleep well at night saying the rest is right.
And coming to philanthropy, right? Have you thought about philanthropy? And I'm sure the mission of the company itself is financial inclusion, which is very important for a country like India. And would love to know your thoughts on philanthropy. Have you thought about it? Are you active in it? Or is there any cause that you are, something that you feel special about? Would love to know from all of you.
I mean, multiple ones, right? I just get off the record to like to talk about
Yeah.
this, but,
Sure. Now, maybe the cause.
okay, the causes are broadly on education, healthcare, and children.
Okay.
Are three areas that are very, very close to our hearts.
Okay.
Anything around these, we trying in a very small, modest way today, but we really, really hope to scale it over time.
And do you spend time on these initiatives, or are you active in philanthropy or active? So you spend time. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Not as much as I would love to.
Yeah, but of course, and at this stage, it's impossible. But then,
We also have two young
Yeah.
kids, so it's just a mix.
yeah,
And then, well, one of my heroes, right? Probably many entrepreneurs here is Bill Gates, right? I mean,
yeah,
he spent like the first half of his life building this incredible amount of money.
yeah.
You know, at the age of 50 around, he had like, I think back then, $50 billion of net worth. And then he just, decided, I'm through with all this. So I'm just going to get back. And, he overnight almost seemed like just became a philanthropist full time, almost, right?
Yeah.
Close it home with the Tatas.
Yeah, closer to home, but that was an incredible story. So,
What a story.
I think it depends on the individual, but I think none of us three are like very kind of like money driven people where we have to like show off our wealth, whatever. Not that,
We're all from middle class backgrounds.
Yeah.
So for us,
and we frankly not even maybe this off the record. It's not like we've seen much, real wealth. It's all paper money kind of wealth, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So, but over time that could change. And if it does change, hopefully.
but it's going to be the same approach to philanthropy, which is how do you bring our management skills to bear and solve a problem for India.
And people see
It's not just the money. The money is the easy part.
Time at your stage, time is super critical. Yeah.
You bring management skills to bear. You can bring business skills that are used to making large businesses more profitable. They can solve real problems of India.
it's a challenge. I think what entrepreneurs do is they try to solve problems, right?
I think that's it, right? That's who we are. We're problem
So
solvers.
it's not just us, by the way. Like, more founders I talk to, more realize that everyone thinking very similar now. It's like no one's like out there to just make some crazy amount of money for themselves, and just like show off and all that stuff.
In India specifically, yeah. Very true.
To me, take it. For paisa hai to acha hai. It's fine, right? But the rate is about giving back,
Correct.
right? It's about how do I help the world? How can I do more for my country?
Yeah.
People or environment, whatever cause you like, right? So it's extremely inspiring to see that.
Yeah. And do you invest in startups as angels and so on?
We're starting to.
Okay.
Right? So yes.
And any sector that you like. I really believe. I look at I go back to my lists always. Look at the trends. We put out this global, in the China rich list, which we put out about 3 years back. The most number of new entrants in the list came from the EV ecosystem sector, right? That's quite a good data.
The rich list or
The rich list.
Okay.
The rich
EV, yeah.
EV ecosystem, not just the car, but the entire ecosystem. That's everything, right? So, yeah. So, any sector like that you think which is going to
take off
in India?
I think like space tech has a tremendous amount of potential.
Untouched in India, yeah.
The other thing that
You have the potential to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel like Indians are so talented, man, so many things. But like, for example, I was telling, I think Kavitha this the other day, it's like you have, like, even look at like plane manufacturing.
Yeah.
Like in the world, you have Airbus, you have Boeing supply probably 90% planes. But that doesn't exist, for example, right? In India, like, we have our own manufacturing of large scale planes. So I think there's so many potential industries that can just.
I think in two lenses we have. One is there's a problem today that needs solving.
Yeah.
Okay? And what lens is what doesn't exist in the world today.
Correct.
Right? So it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really like imagining the future.
And the funny part is, I think, if I'm not wrong, Airbus, it's you can't get a delivery of an Airbus commercial aircraft for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
But
like, for example, China has their own manufacturing.
Yeah.
Brazil has rare.
Yeah.
Canada there's many countries that have done this very well. France does. Yeah. So, a country the size and potential of India. This is an example.
One
right?
example, yeah.
There's so many spaces like that where there's incredible potential, and people in India have gone on, to work at these large scale companies and lead them.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's just very inspiring to see. And I feel like if I'm having this conversation to them, saying XYZ industry, it'll probably change again in 2 years.
Yeah.
Or like, it's evolving so rapidly. Yeah. It's like someone's already working on this, has already solved it. 10, go to market's done.
I mean, local AI.
Yeah.
I think he was available briefly for a couple of hours. Taking it back by Microsoft again. He was.
I think you're busy on Google Meets.
Yeah. And last question: What will you advise me to? Pre-advice to the startups that have seen the boom cycle, the funding winter, now hoping that the winter is getting over, and so what will be your advice to them? If you have to say a couple of, let's say 2 points, each one of you.
I just think that these winters and summers are season. They gotta come and go. Genuinely focus on the long-term fundamentals, focus on your values, be very crystal clear who your customers, what's the pain, and what's your mission, what's making you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And the shorter fluctuations will go. That's it.
Okay. You?
Yeah, I was saying earlier. I think, wholehearted, like passionate focus on the customer's problem. Trying to solve for it is very, very important. And just thinking about the customer and see how, what the actual problem is, right? And finding a way to solve it is very, very critical, along with thinking of distribution right away. And, I don't know, man. I feel like sometimes founders, entrepreneurs are just very stubborn people. Like, you don't quit, right? It's easy to quit nowadays. Probably easier to quit nowadays than in the past. It's just about sticking through, right? And you don't know exactly when things will change. Things just change. And you just hope that things will change for the best, right? Just keep going. And try to enjoy the process, right? As much as you can.
Yeah. Shrini? Yeah.
Because there's no rational understanding of, the risk reward.
No, I tell my business, I don't come from media, so I always say that ignorance was bliss for me. So I don't know how the industry works. So so my only objective, I tell my team was, I should create a platform which is of very high integrity, which means we don't do paid awards, no paid interviews. It has to be completely, a platform should be to speak about entrepreneurship in the truest sense. And that's the whole brief and the value systems that we've been developing. But anywhere you go to, even I myself get emails from people saying that, you've been on the cover of a magazine, and then the nomination fee and all that stuff. so,
Throws up.
yeah, so that's that's
It's
one.
amazing how big that industry is.
Yeah, that's great.
It's incredible. Like I'm like, you know,
And the funny part is they don't get tired. It's just-
like हर हफ्ता कुछ तो कुछ email आता रहता है यार. Like dude,
yeah. No, I'll be dealing with some HR issue in my company. Then I get a message: the best HR leader of India. That's
I'm like when readers fall for it. That's what I don't get. Also,
Yeah.
the flip side,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Even so, I was in this year's Fortune 40 under 40. Even
Right.
like, so I got is that true? Yeah, but that was okay. That was yeah.
Shri, what do you think? What's your advisement?
Yeah, no, look, I like exactly what you said there, that ignorance is bliss, right? I think it's really important. I would say that if you have to start a company, start it early on in your life. And it's like, I think experience can work backwards in some of these cases, right? The less battle scars and, cuts you have from working with other people in an organization, sometimes it actually works better in your favor, right? Because like you said, you literally come in with no prior data, no prior past, no tragic experiences or trauma from taking a bad decision, or, and because sometimes what happens is 5 times you've tried something, it doesn't work. The 6th time it actually does work, right? So if you're that entrepreneur who's not seen those 5 fails before, you'll boldly go for the 6th time and say, okay, let me give this a shot, right? And we see that play out happen in front of us. How startups were just too early for their time to try to crack a market and didn't work. And then everybody said, it's not possible. Look at all these 5 companies that came and went. It's not going to happen, right? So I think you nailed it right there, that ignorance is bliss, right? And I think the best way to do that is I encourage people to start early.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all your time.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure talking to all of you. I mean, it's fantastic to see the way you built the business with so much clarity and perseverance. Thanks for your time.